Hi, Zebra, Emma here. It is time for our next journey on our magic carpet ride. So far, our magic carpet ride has taken us to stories from Italy and from Norway. And today, our story is from America. And our author from America is a man called Dr. Seuss, who has written lots and lots of different books, some which you might know already from some films and seen them on some television programmes. So the story that we're going to share today is our massage story about an elephant called Horton. It's our story called Horton Hears a Who. So I'm going to do what we usually do for our massage story. I am going to read the story and show you what the actions are, what the different movements are that we do on our hands and our arms, so that you can join in at home if you want to. So are you ready? We always start our massage story sandwiching our hands together. I'm going to give our hands a squeeze. And then we are ready to start our story of Horton Hears a Who. So the first action that we are going to do is the wave, which is where we do that movement. So you could do it down your arm, or you could get somebody to do it on your back. Start off with the wave. On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Noor, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton, the elephant, heard a small noise. So Horton stopped splashing. He looked toward the sound. That's funny, thought Horton. There's no one around. Then he heard it again, just a very faint yelp, as if some tiny person were calling for help. I'll help you, said Horton, but who are you? Where? He looked and he looked, but could see nothing there, but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. Oh, our next action is the sprinkle, using our fingertips. I say, murmured Horton, I've never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So, you know what I think? Why, I think that there must be someone on top of that small speck of dust. Some sort of creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eyes. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll blow in the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll just have to save him, because, after all, a person's a person, no matter how small. So next action is our kangaroo one, bouncing the fingers. So gently, and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air, and he lifted the dust speck and carried it over and placed it down safe on a very soft clover. Humph, humphed a voice. 'Twas a sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said humph too. Why, that speck is small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there never has been. Next one we do some stroking. Believe me, said Horton, I tell you sincerely, my ears are quite keen and I heard it quite clearly. I know there's a person down there, and what's more, quite likely there's two, even three, even four. Quite likely a family, for all that we know. A family with children just starting to grow. So please, Horton said, as a favour to me, try not to disturb them. Just please let them be. Back to the sprinkling those fingertips again. I think you're a fool, laughed the sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too. You're the biggest blamed fool in the jungle of Noor. And the kangaroo plunged in the cool of the pool. What Terrible splashing, the elephant frowned. I can't let my very small persons be drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they. So he plucked up the clover and he hurried away. Next one, we do some walking with our hands. Through the high jungle treetops, the news quickly spread. He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk with that speck on that flower. And Horton walked worrying for almost an hour. Should I put this speck down? Horton thought with alarm. If I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can't put it down. I won't. After all, a person's a person, no matter how small. Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. The voice was so faint he could just barely hear it. Speak up, please, said Horton. He put his ear near it. My friend, came the voice, you're a very fine friend. You've helped all us folks on this dust speck no end. You've saved all our houses, our ceilings and floors. You've saved all our churches and grocery stores. Next one, we trace the shape of a question mark. It's a surprise. What's going on? You mean, Horton gasped, you have buildings there too? Oh, yes, piped the voice. We most certainly do. I know, called the voice. I'm too small to be seen, but I'm mayor of a town that is friendly and clean. Our buildings to you would seem terribly small, but to us, who aren't big, they are wonderfully tall. My town is called Whoville, for I am a Who, and we Whos are all thankful and grateful to you. And Horton called back to the mayor of the town, you're safe now, don't worry, I won't let you down. Next one, we use this handshake to do some squeezing. But just as he spoke to the mayor on the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers came shouting, what tot? This elephant's talking to Whos who are not. There aren't any Whos, and they don't have a mayor. And we're going to stop all this nonsense. So there. They snatched Horton's clover. They carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vladikoff, a mighty strong eagle of very swift wing. And they said, will you kindly get rid of this thing? And before the poor elephant even could speak, that eagle flew off with a flower in his beak. Next one, we do some patting. Or that late afternoon and far into the night, that black-bottomed bird flapped its wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones, and begged, please don't harm all my little folks who have as much right to live as us bigger folks do. But far, far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping, and over his shoulder called back, quit your yapping. I'll fly the night through. I'm a bird, I don't mind it, and I'll hide this tomorrow where you'll never find it. And at 6:56 the next morning, he did it. It was such a terrible place that he hid it. He let that small clover drop down somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers 100 miles wide. Find that, sneered the bird, but I think you will fail. And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail. Next one, we do some bouncing. I'll find it, cried Horton. I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends on my small speck of dust. And clover by clover by clover with care, he picked up and searched them and called, are you there? But clover by clover by clover, he found that not one he sought for was just not around. And by noon, poor old Horton, more dead than alive, had picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. Then on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he found them at last on the 3,000,000th flower. My friends, cried the elephant, tell me, do tell, are you safe? Are you sound? Are you whole? Are you well? Next one, we do some drumming. From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor. We've really had trouble, much more than our share. When that black-bottomed birdie let go and we dropped, we landed so hard that our clocks have all stopped. Our teapots are broken, the rocking chair smashed, and our bicycle tyres all blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please, pleaded that voice of the mayor's, will you stick by us Who's while we're making repairs? Of course, Horton answered, of course I will stick. I'll stick by you small folks, through thin and through thick. Next one is our claw, using our fingertips. Humph, humphed a voice. For almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who never existed. Such carryings on in our peaceable jungle, we've had quite enough of your bellowing bungle. Well, I'm here to state, snapped the big kangaroo, that your silly nonsensical game is all through. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too. With the help of all the Wickersham brothers and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham in-laws whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped and you're going to be caged. As for your dust speck, ha, that we shall boil in hot steaming kettle of beezelnut oil. Boil it? Gasped Horton. Oh, that you can't do. It's all full of persons. They'll prove it to you. Next one, we do some squeezing. Mr. Mayor, Horton called. Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you really are there. So call a big meeting, get everyone out. Make every who holler, make every who shout, make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in a beezelnut stew. And down on the dust speck, that scared little mayor quick called a big meeting of Whoville Town Square. And his people cried loudly, they crowd out in fear. We are here, we are here, we are here, we are here. Next one, we do some sliding on the side of our hand. The elephant smiled, that was clear as a bell. You kangaroos surely heard that very well. All I heard, snapped the big kangaroo, was the breeze and a faint sound of wind through distant trees. I heard no small voices, and you didn't either. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me neither. Grab him, they shouted, and cage the big dope. Lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope. Tie the knots tight so he'll never shake loose. Then dunk the dumb speck in the beezelnut juice. Next one is our cuppings with our hand like that. We do some more patting. Horton fought back with great vigour and vim, but the Wickersham gang were too many for him. They beat him, they mauled him, and they started to haul him into a cage, but he managed to call to the mayor, don't give up, I believe in you all. A person's a person, no matter how small. And you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard, so come on now, try. The mayor grabbed a tom-tom, he started to smack it, and all over Whoville they whooped up a racket. They rattled tin kettles, they beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops and old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots on clarinets, umpas and pumpas and flutes. Next one is some fanning, so fan our hands out on your back. Great gusts of loud racket rang high through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky, and the mayor called up through the hollowing and hullabaloo, "Hey Horton, how's this? Is the sound coming through?" And Horton called back, "I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong quite as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every who down in Whoville is working? Quick, look through your town. Is there anyone shirking?" Next one is some circles. Through the town rushed the mayor from the east to the west, but everyone seemed to be doing his best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping. But it wasn't enough, all this ruckus and roar. He had to find someone to help him make more. He had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through each building. He searched floor to floor. And just as he felt he was getting nowhere and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through a door, and that mayor discovered one shirker quite hidden away in the Fairfax apartments, apartment 12J. A very small shirker named Jojo was just standing and bouncing a yo-yo, not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp. And the mayor rushed inside and he grabbed the young twerp. Next one is this movement on your back, on your arm. And he climbed with the lads up the Eiffelberg Tower. "This," cried the mayor, "is your town's darkest hour. The time for all who have blood that is red to come to the aid of their country," he said. "We've got to make noise in greater amounts. So open your mouth, lad, for every voice counts." Thus he spoke as he climbed. When he got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and he shouted out, "Yop!" Next one, we just keep your hands still on your arms or on your back. And that yop, that one small extra yop, put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on the clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean, and the elephant smiled. "Do you see what I mean? They've proved they are persons, no matter how small, and their whole world was saved by the smallest of all." "How true! Yes, how true," said the big kangaroo. "And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them with you." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too. From sun in the summer, from the rain when it's fallish, I'm going to protect them, no matter how smallish." So that was our story from America by Dr. Seuss of Horton Hears a Who. Hope you enjoyed our story. Bye.